Hi guys, I thought I'd do another film review because it's been a little while since I've done one and I thought, yeah, give it a whirl again. So this is a review of the Cinderella retelling Ever After, starring Drew Barrymore, Dougray Scott, Angelica Houston, and other awesome people. So I'm a little biased in my opinion of this film because it's been a favourite of mine since I was 12 when I first saw it. And I can honestly, I could actually quote you this film backwards. Like, not backwards as in the words themselves, but the sentences. I'll even try and give it a go for a moment. Hold on. The point, gentlemen, is that they lived. And while Cinderella and her prince did live happily ever after, you sir... Oh, hold on a minute. You know what? I don't know. Says who? And we, princess, are supposed to live happily ever after. You, sir, are supposed to be charming. I must say, Da Vinci, for a man of your talent, it doesn't look anything like her. See? I could quote the film backwards. That's a bad sign. But, yeah, I know it inside out. I've watched it so many times, it's ridiculous. But I loved it when I was 12 when I first saw it, and I've loved it ever since. And my reasons for loving it have varied over the years, but essentially I just think it's a really enjoyable film. And as everyone knows, it's a Cinderella retelling, but what I love about it is the fact that it is very much its own story, with its own characters and its own feel to it, as opposed to just being Cinderella, Cinderella, Cinderella. And I really love that. It feels like, I mean, I still, in my mind, I still connect it with being Cinderella, but it's just in its own vein as well, which is great. And that was something I complimented the novel Cinder about as well. It was its own thing too. Yeah, I just think it's a really enjoyable story, and I especially really, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I really like Drew Barrymore's performance as Danielle. I don't quite know what anyone's accent is meant to be in this film, considering it is meant to be in France, and they have like this pseudo, like, just general, generic English accent going on, and I don't quite understand, but then there's this lilt to it sometimes, like you can tell they're trying to put a French sound in there, but anyway, it's in some mystical part of France where everyone speaks English. But yeah, I enjoy her performance a lot, and she feels very full. The character of Danielle feels very fully fleshed out to me, and three-dimensional and genuine. And I love, it's not just that she's like, it's got a feminist slant on it with her being more proactive and tomboyish and feisty and things, but none of that feels forced. I'm not describing it very well, but it feels genuine, incredible, and very true to that character. And it never feels as though, oh, they're just making her take part in this so that people won't complain about, you know, the notions of this character and her role being outdated or sexist and whatnot. It felt true, and it felt right for the character, and it felt right for the story as well. And something else that I really enjoyed was the fact that she did do her own saving, but it just came about in a really natural way as well. One of my favourite moments of the film isn't even a moment really, it's just the way Drew Barrymore plays it. Right towards the end of the film, when she saved herself from being raped and whatnot by Richard Bryan's character. And she's leaving his castle and just walking out, and she's so tired and dejected and just looks utterly worn out and fed up with the world, and Henry shows up late. He's like, oh, came to rescue you. And she just says, rescue me, a commoner. And she just looks like, she's like, dude, I want to go to bed. I want to just lie down. And you're late anyway. I did it myself. Just leave me alone. I don't know, something about her performance in that moment, part of the cynical, non-romantic part of me, which is a large part of me, wishes that she'd just said to him, look, you know, I'm not in the mood today, dude, and you were really friggin' rude to me, so I'm going home, and if you want to say sorry and try and make things up, come back another day, and maybe we can talk. I wish that had happened, I really do. That leads me to my one criticism of the film, and the funny thing is, it's not even a criticism, because I kind of have so much fun with it. I really hate Henry. I like Dougray Scott. I'm a fan of his work, and his performance was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just the character. I think that Henry's an utter dickhead, and really quite a douchebag to, not just to to Danielle, although especially to her towards the end, but to almost everyone. He's just a very bratty, really self-centered, arrogant little shit, and it fits in with the idea of him being young, even though I think Drew Scott was much too old for the role, really, if he was meant to be a teenager, but so was Drew Barrymore. I mean, it works for who the character is, but the funny thing is he's not really very charming at all. He's kind of just an idiot, and you really dislike him in the moments when he disses her at the ball and things. You can understand his anger, I suppose, but he still comes across as a pompous prick. And so I have a lot of fun just ripping Henry off. He has some of my favourite bad lines in the film, and I think the script for the most part is really good. Like, it's solid, and especially given the fairy tale retellings that we can see these days on film. I mean, I saw Snow White and the Huntsman last night and was pissing my pants laughing at the dialogue in that. Case-Stu's speech. What the hell was that? What was the battle speech? She changed her mind like a million times as to what the hell she was talking about, and all the metaphors were ridiculous, and like, what are you saying? And then suddenly she's like, who are you? Are you my brothers? No, what? What are you saying, Snow White? So, God, the script in that was awful. But for the most part in Ever After, I quite like the screenwriting. And I should check who it is, because it's someone I know that Andy Tennant, who was the director, he was one of the screenwriters. But yeah, Henry gets some of my few favourite moments of dialogue that are just painful, and it's because he delivers them so melodramatically. I love when he says, tell no one we have spoken, for all shall reveal itself in due course. Come, Leroux, there is much to do. And stay aloft, madam, there are games afoot. It's just, oh God, you're a dick. But I have so much fun laughing at Henry that the fact that I don't like him doesn't actually bother me too much. Everybody else I just really enjoy. I think that obviously Angelica Houston had a great deal of fun hamming it up a little bit as Rod Miller. But what I like about Rod Miller as well is, while she is a bitch, and she treats Danielle horribly, you see tiny, tiny glimpses of a human being underneath everything. One of my favourite scenes is when Danielle's with her and, like, late at night and she's brushing her hair and that, and they have the conversation about her mum and her father. And she just says, and Danielle asks her, did you love my father? And Rod Miller says, well, I barely knew him. And it sounds really terrible, but you see her thinking, shit, I did barely know him. I married a guy I didn't really know, and he was gone before I could get to know him and stuff. That's how I read that scene. I think it's nice and subtle, and there's some layers there you could explore if you wanted to. It depends how you view it. But recently I rewatched the film with one of my friends, and she brought up something that I'd honestly never considered, so I'd like to ask your opinion if you know the film well. This isn't really a spoiler. At the beginning of the film, Danielle's dad dies after he's brought the new family home, and I always just assumed that was a heart attack. You know, he just had sudden heart problems, fell off his horse, he had a heart attack, and he died. My friend was of the opinion that he was poisoned by Rod Miller, which I never considered, and in my head I don't think that would be the case. It doesn't make sense with how I view it, but I was just wondering what your opinion was. What was the cause of the dad's death? I just assumed it was a heart attack. Other things, I like Cinder. I like that one of the stepsisters isn't too bad, and I'm a big fan of Melanie Lynskey. I always pronounce her name wrong, but I like her work, and she's really good with accents, because she's a New Zealand actress, but I've seen her do a variety of accents, so she's skilled in that area, and she doesn't do enough stuff, and she doesn't get enough credit, so I'm a fan. I like that you kind of see Jacqueline grow as someone who's finally willing to be defiant and stand up to her mum and her sister, and, you know, finally do the right thing and be vocal and honest about it. So I like that she kind of had her own little growth there, and she found romance too, which was really sweet. The side characters are fun. I'm sure it's anachronistic. I haven't bothered to check whether or not all the stuff is correct to that time period exactly, but I like that Da Vinci's just there. I love Gustav, who's Danielle's mate. I do think perhaps he's gay, but then good on him. I hope he finds someone to hang out with. I could be stereotyping him though, so that's probably unfair. But I really like him. Yeah, I also love that, like, the servants get their own tiny little moments of seeing them happy together and the friendship between them. I love when Thomas is brought home, and not Thomas, what am I saying? Maurice is brought home, and they all celebrate on their own, and I just think it's really sweet that you get to see, like, the difference in the class systems just in how happy they are, even though their life sucks and they're living in impoverished conditions and stuff. I thought that was really lovely. And the music's beautiful. I'm a big fan of the score. And I love the production design. I love the feel of it. The costumes are lovely. I'm just a fan, I am. So I'm wondering if you have seen Ever After, what your opinions are of it. As far as fairy tale retellings go, it's certainly one of my favourites, even though it's not nearly as dark or serious as some are. But in terms of the more fluffier canon, it's certainly #1 with a bullet for me. And yeah, just wondering what your thoughts are. If ever they make a musical of this, I would totes see it. I really would. But it would have to be done well, and it would have to stay true to the feel of this and not be dumbed down or made too kiddish, I think. I know that there's a novelisation of the movie, but apparently it is quite juvenile, which I think is a shame, because I really like the tone and just the feel of this film. I think it hit the right note, and it's accessible for everyone, but you don't feel like, I don't know, you don't feel immature if you can confess to being a fan of it when you're older. So anywho, that's Ever After, a Cinderella story, and I'd certainly give it 5 out of 5 stars because I'm a huge fan, and if you have not seen it, certainly do, because it's really good. So, Ever After.